When I think about what you created, I'm going to make a person that is confident. I'm going to make a person that believes he's the most
the king of
king.
rock. There is none higher.
But then, like, I flashed to like what we saw when we saw you. It was true. Like you dreamed something and it became
metaphysical
true.
Stuff.
I mean, it's like you dreamed it out of your house into the world.
Right. Think about those words, make believe.
Yeah.
It was make the world believe. Hip-hop was just considered black ghetto music at first because it was the message, broken glass. It was me living in Hollis. I was like, why is everybody talking about death, darkness, and destruction? And what I meant in the streets, of course, it was gangbanging, drug dealers, pimps, heroin, and all of that. But like I said earlier, there was kids playing jump rope, Skelly. And I was like, why nobody talking about that on a record? It was like they almost overlooked. You know, it's funny how when people say the streets, it's everything negative. The streets was beautiful, too. So hip-hop's rule is keep it real. So when they passed me the mic, I ain't gonna be saying I'm gang banging and killing. Hip-hop gave me the permission to be me. We brought white people and black people together. We didn't just sell records. We didn't just create a new culture. It really did something good for human beings. MTV put us in every living room, even living rooms that didn't want us. So there was a responsibility with us to represent continuously the community that we came from. Not to let it get diluted, polluted, or destroyed. Anything sacred or holy to a culture, a community, or a nation of people will get diluted, polluted, and destroyed once it's commercialized. I was an alcoholic, suicidal, metaphysical, spiritual wreck that didn't want to live anymore. Instead of using my imagination to accomplish, or instead of pretending, I started indulging in it was the alcohol. And alcohol would just make those thoughts go away. But only when I was drunk, because then when the high wear off, those thoughts would come right back. So now I gotta, I went from drinking 3 40 ounces to a case a day. Harmful, unhealthy behaviors is celebrated in our community. The person that takes 20 shots, nobody stops them at number 7 and say, yo, what's wrong? It was a void in me, and it was also things I was trying to suppress. But I called my mom's up, and I'm like, hey, Mom, I'm writing a book, and just to make it more interesting for the reader, I want to know 3 things. How much did I weigh? What time I was born? What hospital? She tells me.
Simple questions.
Yep. Hangs up the phone. An hour later, she calls back with my father. Hey, son. Hey, Dad, what's going on? We have something else to tell you. Now, I thought they was going to go, when you was born, there was a power outage in the hospital, and we gave birth to you by candle, like something like that. Or there was an earthquake, and you made it through. They hit me with this. We have something else to tell you what. Now, I'm an alcoholic, suicidal, metaphysical, depressed wreck. You was a month old when we brought you home, and you're adopted, but we love you. Bye. Click.
And you're 35 years old at this time.
35 years old.
It's Mayim Bialik's breakdown. She's gonna break it down for you, because she knows a thing or two. And now she's gonna break down. It's a breakdown. She's gonna break it down.
Hi, I'm Mayim Bialik.
And I'm Jonathan Cohen.
And welcome to our breakdown. This is the place where we break things down so you don't have to. Today we're going to break down what's on my sweatshirt. Yo.
A little bit of music history. The band that might have changed music as we know it.
We have DMC of Run-D.M.C, Darryl DMC McDaniels, here to talk about what it was like to be literally the first hip-hop rap group on the cover of Rolling Stone, the first to appear on MTV, the first to be on American Bandstand. His story of his journey into fame from being a comic book loving, like turntabling in the basement when no one was looking, nerdy kid who went to Catholic school, who became part of a revolution and also went on this tremendous mental health journey. His story about alcoholism is one of the most extreme I have heard. He also didn't find out he was adopted until he was 35 years old. This is a story for the ages. If you vaguely know who Run-D.M.C is, listen to this episode. If you don't know who Run-D.M.C is, listen to this episode. And if you, like me, have Run-D.M.C lyrics programmed into your DNA from the time you were very young, you have to hear the perspective from the person who literally was at the cornerstone of a revolution, not just in music, but in our cultural understanding of music. Also, before we get started, please make sure to subscribe. It actually really helps the podcast. It's a significant thing, and we need you to do it, so please do it. Subscribe wherever you get podcasts, and also on YouTube, click that little bell icon so you get notifications so you know when episodes are about to drop. Without further ado, so honored to bring Darryl DMC McDaniels to the breakdown. Break it down. It's really, really awesome to get to talk to you. So just so you know, I was born in 1975. So I grew up in Los Angeles. My parents are from the Bronx. And I was raised out here like it was the Bronx in the 1940s.
Wow.
And, you know, I was raised on all the music you can imagine. I was raised on 60s folk and all that stuff. Yeah, I was raised on like Free to Be You and Me. You know, like I was that kid.
Wow.
But I do remember when music changed forever. And that was when we heard your voice. And Run-D.M.C became part of our culture. I remember it. I remember it was different than anything we'd ever heard. I remember it was just catchy as fuck. And it took over. It took over school. It took over my synagogue. Like it took over fashion. It took over everything. And now that I've been watching the docuseries Kings from Queens, you know, it was a time and culture that you were part of in what seemed almost an accident. Meaning, I thought your story would be you always wanted to be a musician and like you were rapping when you were a kid. Talk a little bit about where you grew up, how you grew up, and what you were like as a kid.
Well, I grew up in Hollis, Queens, New York. As you know, I've shouted out on so many records. But I went to Catholic school. Our neighborhood, Hollis, Queens, it was a lower suburban middle-class area where it wasn't like the Bronx. It wasn't like the Bronx. It wasn't like Harlem. It wasn't like Do or Dead Bed-Stuy. You know, our 42nd Street and our 125th Street was just on the corner of 2/3 Street.
Yeah.
So there was like one little strip in a whole, I would say it was like an 18-block neighborhood where the pimps and the drugs and all of that. But otherwise, the blocks, your mother was my mother was your mother. We had the United Block Association. Kids played jump rope and skelly and stickball, and we rode our bikes and, you know, opened the sprinklers and all of that. You know, so it was a very lovely, it was like the Brady Bunch meets the Cosby Kids. You know, the cartoon, the animated, that we were that, but our upbringing was more like the Brady Bunch. We got disciplined and kids were smart. You know, you had the bad kids, but it was 50-50. But me, I went to Catholic school my whole life. So I was one of those kids that had to be in the house when that street light come on. So when you're in the house, often you had to have imagination. So my go-to was comic books. My whole existence, like, you know, I couldn't relate to the kids that's playing hooky and cutting school. And you stealing the water gun? Go home and ask your parents for money. You know, I'm just that kid, you know what I'm saying? I was very active, tag, and, you know, all of that stuff. But you know, when you have to be in a house when that street light come on, and then you're kind of jealous of the other kids that you hear outside. I'm almost like, how is Warren, Glenn, and Gregory outside at 1 a.m?
And were your parents, were you raised in a religious home? Like, was there religion in your home?
No, there was no religion at home, but they sent me to Catholic school.
Right.
They put it all on me. You know what I'm saying? I was a kid. I had to go to get my Ash Wednesday. I had to go get communion. I went to I had to go to church on Sunday, not them. You know, my parents they worked. It's crazy. Growing up with my parents, they always worked.
What did they do?
My father was a boilerman at the New York New York Transit Authority.
What does that mean for those of us who don't know what a boilerman is?
He didn't drive the bus. He worked for New York Transit, but he didn't drive the bus. The bus depot, the big, gigantic building where all the buses go in and out to get distributed around the city. He worked in the boiler room to keep that facility running for his whole life. My mother was a nurse, a registered nurse. So she worked at first she worked at hospitals, but then she started working at a health-related facility called Haven Manor. She used to work when I was little, she worked at Terrace Heights Hospital in Queens. Then she got a job in Rockaway at Haven Manor. But they always work, but once a year, every summer, we'll take you to Canada. They'll take you to the Danbury's Fair out in Connecticut. They took us to once a year, they gave us a week of their time.
And you had a brother.
Alfred. He was 3 years older than me.
Right. And so your love of comic books, I mean, as you describe it, it's a really classic love affair with comic books. You really embraced the notion of the Ubermensch, the superhero, like the man who could do anything.
But
what spoke to you about that?
All superheroes have problems when they're not the superheroes. They are awkward, they're clumsy, they don't fit in. Their Norm Peter Parker's life was chaos. Bruce Wayne saw his mother and father get murdered. You know what I'm saying? All the Dr. Bruce, everybody got issues. They all had issues, right? But what I saw in these superheroes, number one was, okay, they're kind of awkward and confused like me. I can relate to that. But then a lot of them were very smart. People forget Peter Parker, smartest, Tony Stark, Reed Richards. So I saw my awkwardness of not fitting in the world where in my personal life things didn't go right, but also they were educated. So I couldn't see nobody I am not in a gang. I don't sell drugs. I don't, you know what I'm saying? I saw them in this Marvel comic world doing what I was doing. And also, since I had to be in the house when the street light came on, and until I got like 10, but couldn't leave the block. Stan Lee was brilliant. Now, I love DC too. Flash, Superman, Wonder Woman, Green Lantern. But Gotham and Metropolis was fictional. They wanted to be New York. Stan Lee, rest in peace, he created DMC. He put the superheroes really in New York. So when I read a Marvel comic book, it gave me a geographical lesson about the city that I lived in, but I couldn't experience because my mother wouldn't let me leave the block. So I learned about the Lower East Side. I learned about Hell's Kitchen. I learned about Harlem. So Stan Lee was showing me New York City with these characters in there who had problems like me, trying to figure life out. But Spider-Man lived in Queens like me. That blew my mind. So those were characters that I could relate to because I didn't have that in my world.
And you also, I wore thick rimmed glasses in your honor today. You wore glasses. And
I still wear them. I got contacts in today.
I figured. You're looking very fashionable without glasses, I'm sure, as well. Contacts. You look great with glasses.
Still need them. Can't see for nothing.
But what was that like also? Now we think of glasses as like the perfect accessory and everybody's wearing them. But when you were a kid, this was definitely...
four eyes.
Right.
Hey, binoculars, blind as a bat. Oh, it was great. Kids were mean. And I started wearing glasses in second grade because my teacher, Mrs. Peterson, noticed I was squinting. And squinting is one of my favorite words because when I'm little second grade and they're talking about me squinting, I was like, what does that mean? But I was squinting and my mother comes to pick me up and Miss Peterson says, I need glasses. And I started wearing glasses in second grade.
Wow.
Now, it helped me see, but it also kids were mean. They would take my glasses and hide them. It was like crazy, but it still didn't stop me from learning, though. I'd be like, Miss Peterson, can you move me closer to the blackboard? Like, I didn't let them prevent me from getting my knowledge. But I had no idea the glasses would... the very thing that I got teased, bullied, and picked on became one of the most powerful things about me.
Totally.
And I go to speak to kids about that. Don't be ashamed of who you are. You are perfect just the way you are.
Mayim Bialik's Breakdown is supported by Nom Nom.
Your pet's a member of the family. Don't feed them like they're in the doghouse. Give them Num Num. Num Num delivers freshly made dog food with every portion personalized to your dog's needs so you can bring out their best. Num Num's made with real wholesome ingredients you can see and recognize without any additives or fillers that contribute to bloating or low energy. That's because Num Num uses the latest science and insights to make real good food for dogs. Their nutrient-packed recipes are designed by board-certified veterinary nutritionists, freshly made and shipped free to your door. Num Num's already delivered over 40 million meals to good dogs like yours, inspiring millions of clean bowls and tail wags. Alyssa, who works for our company, loves her dog Chad so much and feels so much better giving him this wonderful nutrition by feeding him Num Num. Chad loves it so much he runs to the freezer every single time they open it. Plus, Num Num comes with a money-back guarantee. If your dog's tail isn't wagging within 30 days, Num Num will refund your first order. No fillers, no nonsense, just Num Num. Go right now for 50% off your no-risk 2-week trial at trynum.com/breakdown. Spelled trynom.com/breakdown for 50% off.
Trynum.com/breakdown. Mayim Bialik's Breakdown is supported by BetterHelp.
You know, Jonathan and I may make it look easy, what we do here, but it's not easy. I'm very proud of the relationship that Jonathan and I have as co-hosts of our podcast, but this relationship doesn't come naturally. It's not always easy. And a lot of people think that like, oh, if the relationship's not easy, I got to give up on it. It's not right. But Jonathan and I have found that a lot of the issues that we deal with, we get to work on. I get to work on in therapy. How can I be the best person that I am bringing to my work relationship? And it takes a lot of work, but it's really worth it. If you're thinking of starting therapy, you can use it to work on any of the relationships in your life, but especially the work ones that are super important. BetterHelp is entirely online, designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. You just fill out a brief questionnaire and they'll match you with a licensed therapist. You can switch at any time for no additional charge. Become your own soulmate, whether you're looking for one or not. Visit betterhelp.com/break today and get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp.
HELP.com/break.
Tell us about when you met Joseph Simmons, who everybody else will recognize as Run.
Right.
Y'all went to the same
Catholic
school,
but he was always in the other class.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know Joe. My best friend growing up was Douglas Hayes. So from kindergarten to 8th grade, that was my best friend. We had many adventures together. It was like Tom Sawyer and Huckleberry Finn together. I didn't meet Run till 8th grade because what had happened was a new student came to the school in the 8th grade. And, you know, that's the thing that's a big deal. Class, today we have a new, and everybody looks at them. And our thing was, why did he wait till 8th grade to come? You should have came in sick. Like, everybody in my school, we grew up together from kindergarten. There's this new kid. His name was David McEachin. If you're out there, Dave, you was part of history. Because he was like he probably was 5'11", almost 6 feet. So we had one little rim in the schoolyard, and that rim was a saving grace for us because for me to go to the regular park, I would have to go home and put on my play clothes. Because you can't go in your uniform because the public school kids and the bullies see you in that uniform, you're over. So I would have to go all the way home, change in my play clothes, then go to Jamaica Park.
Play clothes. I like that you call them your play clothes.
Because your mother would be, when you try to play in your uniform, you get in trouble. Boy, didn't I tell you to put your play clothes on before you go out in that backyard? You know what I'm saying? So it was play clothes. So after school, we would play on this one rim. This kid, David McEachin, he dunks and breaks the rim.
Wow.
So we all crying. Well, not me. All the kids was crying because we can't go to the park. I said, hold up, wait. I have the best parents ever. Byford and Banner McDaniels, who I rhymed about on the Raising Hell album, Son of Byford. Wait, my father put a rim in my backyard. Yay, we love you, Dal. So after school, the kids would come play in my yard. One particular day, usually it's 12 to 15 kids. One particular day, Joseph Simmons from the other class shows up, and the rest is history. We played basketball, and how we connected musically, I let him, because when you was little, what's the rule when your parents ain't home? No company. So usually I would go, you're going to love this, I would go in the house, get the jug of faucet water that you put in the refrigerator to get cold, you know what I'm saying? Because we wasn't in the bottled water back then. Faucet water, put in the refrigerator, it gets cold. Then you go get the Dixie cups, come to the back door, hand out, pour every little kid the water. This particular day was Joe, it's 3 o'clock. My parents don't get home till 4. Come on in and get the water.
Wow.
So when he came in, he saw me and my brother's turntables. And
Mm.
he said, do you do that? And I said, no. Because it was my little secret hobby thing that I was doing. I don't want to be Grandmaster Flash. I'm not trying to really be Rapper's Delight. It was just my little thing. When I first heard hip hop, it was, oh shoot, you could tell stories about who you are over music, just like Stan Lee tells stories in comic books.
And also, maybe you can talk a little bit about the culture of music at that time, because you were into comic books, you and your brother, and you have this story that you literally said to that you and your brother were like, we're going to sell comic books to be able to afford 2 turntables.
We didn't sell
like
weed. We didn't.
Right. Well,
Well, it was reefer back then.
Right.
If the kids whose older brothers, like 16 to 25, those, if you sold reefer, you got new turntables. Me and my brother, we didn't sell reefer, but my brother goes, we gonna sell, and I'm like, hold on, whoa, no, I don't love this hip hop thing, no. And he was like, yo, D, we gotta do this, because my brother, he had his 2 friends, Anthony Wallace, I remember everybody, and Boobie Long got turntables. There was no way my brother wasn't gonna have turntables.
So
like
what was this? What did the hobby look like for you? Because also the way that your musical ability exploded once it had that audience for everybody to see, that existed in your head. Like that was in your head.
It was all imagination.
That was right. So what was that hobby like for you?
Pretending to be the most powerful entity in the hip hop universe. It was just pretend. Like Melly Mel and Grandmaster Curtis Blow and all the early Sugar, they were serious about this thing.
Yeah.
For me, it was just a outlet for me. I was a shy kid, and I was just writing rhymes for me. It's kind of like my diary. All my rhymes was, I like going out on sunny days. There was stores, department stores back in the days called Gertz and Mays. So I like going out on sunny days. I go down to the Ave to check out Mays. At the cheaper spots, I make stops. I buy British Walkers. I was just talking about my life. And hip-hop gave me permission to do that without being ashamed of it. But I never wanted y'all to hear it. So I was just writing all of these rhymes. So Joe says, I'm the son of Curtis Blow. Run was a professional rapper since he was 15. In the world of New York City, in the tri-state area, there was a big business going on. Russell was a promoter. He was managing. Rappers were getting signed to independent record deals. Run saw hip-hop's business born in his living room through his brother Russell. Me, it was just, oh, shoot, you can say rhymes and have fun and talk. You know what I'm saying? It was just an outlet for me.
It makes me very emotional because when I think about what you created, just really for your own imaginative, like to create the notion of I'm going to make a person that is confident. I'm going to make a person that believes he's the most
the king of rock. There is none higher.
But then like I flashed to like what we saw when we saw you. It was true. Like you dreamed something and it became
metaphysical
true.
Stuff.
I mean, it's like you dreamed it out of your house into the world.
Right. Think about those words, make believe.
Yeah.
It was make the world believe. I didn't know the power in those words until I got older.
Well, and that's what I was thinking.
Making believe I'm all of this stuff and people believed it. Or I always talk about, I used to get teased, you know that corny pretend stuff. Yeah, are you damn right I am. Pre means before. I was being prepared for something I had no idea. I didn't know when me and Run started DJing together and how my exposure came. When Run would come over, we would just DJ.
Mm-hmm. Right.
In the beginning, before the rapper, it was the DJ and it was the breakdancers. A lot of people don't know that.
For the white people who don't know, what does it mean to DJ? Like, what does that mean?
Yeah,
what does it look like for you?
DJ is the guy that plays records. Right. We basically, to make them understand, we basically took what they were doing in Studio 54 and did it in the streets of New York. It was all about playing music and people come and dance at first.
Right.
And then this new style of dance was created. I want to spin on my head and dance.
That's right. We would put cardboard down. Yeah.
So then in the early days, it was the DJ himself would just say a couple of words. Get out your seat and dance to my beat. And they would dance and stuff like that. Then him speaking got people wanted more, but you can't DJ and talk at the same time. So it was like, you, come over here. Take this mic while I DJ. That's when MCing came into it.
Wow.
So it was, in the beginning.
And that's the master of ceremonies, right? When you think of what an MC is, it's the master of ceremonies.
That's what it meant, right? We were masters of ceremonies who had raps, which is, because we didn't sing, but we stood. So we wasn't rappers, but then we became rappers once Rappers Delight signified it. So in the beginning, we was just DJing. Then when I discovered the DJs have MCs, in my basement, at first I called myself Grandmaster Get High. Because you didn't need
drugs.
Or drugs. My music will intoxicate you. Then when I found out, and this is all me pretending to be everything, I became Grandmaster Get High and MC Easy D.
Oh my God.
Because it's easy for me to do these rhymes. So I'm just doing that. And I would write rhymes. And about the 7th time Run came over, when he would come over, I would hide my rhyme book. Because it's like my diction. It's like my
your diary.
My diary. But one day I forget to put it away and he finds it. And I'm trying to get it from him. You know, when somebody picks your diary up and he's like, no. And then he says, yo, D, this is really good. Like he's really doing it. And he was like, you wrote this? And I was like, yeah. He was like, yo, this is really good. And he looks at me. This is in 8th grade. And he says, whenever my brother lets me make a record, I'm putting you in my group.
What? Which, like, how many times do you hear that? Right? And people, oh, that's great. Yeah, you're gonna put me in a record.
But I was like, no, not me. No, I don't do. No, I don't do. Like, I'm not doubting myself. I don't really know you and Curtis Blow and Flash, and y'all do this for real. This and that. And he just laughed it off. So that was 8th grade. We graduated elementary school. He went to school. Me and him went to different high schools. 4 years go by. I went to Rice High School, all boys Catholic high school in Harlem. Rice High School. They were known for basketball. And I graduate, send my resumes out to different schools. I get a letter in the mail says, Mr. McDaniels. I was like, oh, I'm grown now. Be proud to inform you you've been accepted to St. John's University. So when I got the letter, it's funny. I get the letter and I read it. And my mother and father come home from work again because they always work. And when they came in the house, I didn't run to my mother and say, Mom, I got accepted to. I ran past them to the basement to go write a rhyme about being accepted to St. John's University, which was, I'm DMC and the place to be. I go to St. John's University. So I wrote this rhyme. Then I went upstairs and told my mother. I was the class of 82 at Rice High School.
Oh, my God.
Graduated June of 82. In August of 82, the phone rings. It's Joe. D, remember 4 years ago I said, when my brother lets me make a record, I'm like, yeah, grab your rhyme book. We're going to the studio. We went to the studio, made it like that, and that's the way it is.
God.
With the B-side Sucker MCs. And here I am today sitting here with you.
It's unbelievable. I mean, it's unbelievable in so many ways, but especially when you think about what people think about rap and what people think about hip-hop and my parents were pretty cool, but what a lot of parents thought about it, right? A lot of what happened to our culture surrounding this art, right? And when you think about the tremendous pressure on the Black community and the weight of this art form, right? Resting, I mean, it was like everything was in the balances. And I just love this notion that you were rhyming about getting accepted into university.
And chicken and collard greens.
And like and rhyming it with like chicken and collard greens. And that when you would go on tour, like they said, like your dressing room was like Mr. Rogers and Martha Stewart. Like
and that's because of my upbringing.
Right. You just were like, and I always I was like, he's the quiet one. He's quiet. You know, like with the Beatles, right? I was like, which one's which? And I was like, he's the quiet one because he's wearing glasses. Like that's what I thought.
They called me the Quiet Storm because I didn't speak till I got on stage. Run ran his mouth. He was the, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
And Jay was the flavor. Jay was the style. Jay was the music.
Okay, so we now have the two of you.
Yeah.
And when did Jam Master Jay enter?
We made the first single. The single starts being a hit in the tri-state area. Then it gets a hit down south. Then it starts going to the Midwest. And then it goes all the way to, our music reaches California. So then Russell's management office phone is ringing off the hook. We want to book Run-D.M.C. So Russell said, yo, you're getting offers for shows. You got to get a DJ. And then Run goes, oh, I forgot about that part. Because he was the DJ for Curtis Blow, but now he's the vocalist. Right. So we needed a DJ. Jam Master Jay, Jason Mizell, was the best DJ in our little neighborhood of Hollis. So he goes to Jay, yo, Jay, man, me and Darryl McDaniels from 197th Street. Oh, yeah, I know Darryl. That's Butter's friend. This is all hilarious,
right.
But this is how it went. Then we got to Shrek it. You want to be our DJ? You're going to get paid. Jay was like, I'm going to get paid to do what I do in the streets for free? I'm in. And then Jay, when we put Jay in the group, Jay, me and Run, we wasn't coordinated. When Jay came in the group, It was like, we're going to dress like Jay.
Okay, so that's what I need to talk about next.
Okay.
So
our style.
So obviously the music, the sound, like the understanding of the use of language, like that was already explosive.
Yeah, to go back to what you said, because I know you wanted to. Hip-hop was just considered black ghetto music at first because it was the message, broken glass. It was me living in Hollis. I was like, why everybody talking about death, darkness, and destruction? And what I meant in the streets, of course, there was gangbanging, drug dealers, pimps, heroin, and all of that. But like I said earlier, there was kids playing jump rope, Skelly. And I was like, why nobody talking about that on a record? It was like they almost overlooked. It's funny how when people say the streets, it's everything negative. The streets was beautiful too. So hip-hop's rule is keep it real. So when they passed me the mic, I ain't gonna be saying I'm gang banging and killing. Hip-hop gave me the permission to be me. So that's why I took that path to be honest on a microphone.
Mayim Bialik's Breakdown is supported by Audible, who lets you enjoy all your audio entertainment in one app. You'll always find the best of what you love or something new to discover.
You can choose from so many titles on Audible, such as physical, mental, spiritual, social, motivational, occupational, or financial wellness. I highly enjoyed and recommend Be Useful, 7 Tools for Life by Arnold Schwarzenegger. Audible offers an incredible selection of audiobooks across every genre, from bestsellers and new releases to celebrity memoirs, mysteries and thrillers, business, and more. They are the home of storytelling, offering thousands of titles. Audible helps you get closer to the voices that can change your life and lets you enjoy all of your audio entertainment in one easy-to-use app, which is where I prefer to listen from. You'll find voices that motivate to spark you to take action. There are sounds to soothe so you can focus, reduce stress, and sleep better. Stories to inspire so you can dream big again, plus personalities to encourage and enlighten so you have a partner on your journey. You'll also discover thousands of podcasts, from popular favorites to exclusive new series, guided wellness programs, theatrical performances, comedy, and exclusive Audible originals from top celebrities, renowned experts, and exciting new voices in audio. The newly included selection of titles makes Audible membership so much more valuable and gives all members a chance to discover new favorites and new formats like the exclusive Words Plus Music series. As an Audible member, you can choose one title a month to keep from their entire catalog, including the latest bestsellers and new releases. You can download or stream their included titles all you want. New members can try Audible now free for 30 days. Visit audible.com/MBB or text MBB to 500-500.
That's audible.com/MBB or text MBB to 500-500 to try Audible free for 30 days. Mayim Bialik's Breakdown is supported by Lumi.
Lumi is a game-changing whole-body deodorant designed by an OBGYN to work not only on pits, but also feet, privates, and everywhere else we have odor. No matter where you use it, Lumi's clinically proven to block odor all day long, all thanks to its one-of-a-kind pH-optimized formula. They've got over 275,000 five-star reviews to show for it. Make the switch to Lumi, and this year will be all about head-to-toe confidence, no salads required. As someone who's often super picky about certain smells, I love all of the scent options that Lumi has to offer. You can use Lumi wherever you need it, whenever you need it, and it'll have you feeling confident all day. Lumi's starter pack is perfect for new customers. It comes with a solid stick deodorant, cream tube deodorant, 2 free products of your choice, like mini body wash and deodorant wipes, and free shipping. As a special offer for listeners, new customers get $5 off a Lumi starter pack with code Mayim at lumideodorant.com.
That equates to over 40% off your starter pack when you visit lumideodorant.com and use the code Mayim.
So the sort of next level of what Run-D.M.C meant for our culture. I mean, I have to read I have to read a couple of these stats because I don't think that people I don't think people can understand. Run-D.M.C was the first hip hop act to have their videos on MTV.
That's crazy. Yeah.
And this was in the day when MTV came out and everybody was like, where are the black people? And
even David Bowie was doing an interview.
That's right.
His interview, and he just said, why you don't have more black people
That's
on
right.
there? Shook the establishment.
The first hip hop act to be on American Bandstand. This is
Hung out with Dick
enormous.
Clark, yeah.
The first to be on the cover of Rolling Stone. This is going to make me cry. The first to perform at Live Aid. That's an enormous cultural musical moment. And the first hip hop act to be nominated for a Grammy. And a huge part of not just the marketing, but the identity of what Run-D.M.C was there was a very specific look. It was a style. It was very understated. I mean, at first it was black t-shirts and black trousers and Adidas with no laces.
Yeah.
Tell us why Adidas with no laces.
Well, it's not a jail thing.
Right.
There was a culture where the inmates would get their shoestrings taken so they don't hang themselves and choke out other inmates. But for us, it was enthusiasm.
Mm.
When you go in and you get your new Adidas, you're so excited you don't want to take any time to lace them up. You want to put them on and walk out the store. So we started doing it and it just stuck. And everybody saw us doing, like, we were going with the old pair of sneakers. The first time we went in with the laced up Adidas. Now we got enough money to get 2 pair. You didn't have to ask your mother for money, you could get your own. So when we would go in there, when we was able to get our own Adidas, we so excited, we would put the shoestrings around our necks and just walk out the store. But at that time, we was doing so many shows. Store, in the car, shoot to Connecticut, shoot to Jersey, shoot down south, this and everywhere. There was no time to lace them up. So we actually just started performing in them. And then we would go to the next town or we'd come back to that town and everybody's walking around.
And I remember
it wasn't like we planned it.
There was conversation about it. I remember this. It was like, it's about prison. They're trying to indoctrinate people to think that everybody's going to go to prison.
Right, no.
They're trying to make white people go to prison, just stupid, ridiculousness.
But that was going on in prison, but it's not how we did. We wasn't doing it to be rough and say, "Oh, we're gangster" or anything
and
like that.
What about this notion of the look? The hats was that a J thing?
That was a J. The way Run-D.M.C dressed was how Jason Mizell and Wendell Fite, who is DJ Hurricane from the Beasties.
Right.
That's how Jason and DJ Hurricane was dressing in 9th, 10th, and 11th grade. They was going to school. But people don't realize that in New York City, the young people used to dress up. We used to put on gabardines and Quarterfields, British Walkers, and Playboy. We used to wear sheepskins. Like, we used to put on mock night. Like, we used to dress. So when we first saw Jay come out onto his steps like that, we was like, that's going to be our look. And the reason why it resonated was when people saw Run-D.M.C, they didn't see celebrity. They saw how dynamic we are, but they saw themselves. And for people that didn't, prior to MTV, people were hearing the records, they didn't know what we were looking like. But then when they saw us, it was new to them. Like, what's this new thing? You know what I'm saying?
I have a question because, like, I think for a lot of people, the first Black musical act a lot of people saw, like, was often Run-D.M.C.
100%.
Meaning for a lot of people, if you think about the people in the middle of the country, right? In certain places where was still very segregated.
Oh,
there's
100%.
still cities in America like that.
Yep. MTV put us in every living room, even living rooms that didn't want us.
Well, so this is my question. Did you have an awareness of, you're still basically like a kid, right? You guys are still young. You didn't have any awareness of, like, what should we look like or what are people going to think?
Nope, we didn't.
Right.
No, we didn't. We would go to some cities though, and people would talk about it. Don't go to that side of town. Like, but we didn't have an awareness. We were so innocent. Like, we would walk into the battlefield.
Right.
So we were just happy performing.
And did you, I know you didn't always dress like triplets, but there was something also so sweet about the uniformity that, like, because also, obviously, I mean, you all had very distinctive kind of personality and different persona to it.
Right.
But there was something that made me feel as a listener, as a viewer, like that you really enjoyed this company together.
Yeah, yeah.
It made it fun, you know,
Yep.
to be part. It made me feel like I was
Yes.
part. I mean, again, I'm the farthest thing from, you know,
Right,
Hollis,
no, but
but-
I'm gonna get my Adidas.
right. Was
I'm gonna
it,
get the record. Yeah, that's
can
true.
you tell me what it felt like? Like, did it feel like a party every show?
No. What it felt like was it was more like playtime.
Mm.
And the reason why I say that, we were doing what we did in front of the world, we were doing in the parks and at the block parties and at the basements of houses. So we just went from Run's basement to this stage at Live Aid.
What do you think you
And
were?
that's very weird.
What do you think you were? Maybe you weren't planning on thinking of it that way, but what were you teaching people about your culture, your music, like your life?
Well, we were highly, highly inspired. Because you gotta admit, we come from a generation of albums.
Mm-hmm.
So we grew up on Sgt. Pepper's. You look at it, like you said, with the Beatles. Oh, that's Paul. And then you read stuff. And then you would see them as superstars. And you would hear John Lennon sleeping naked in the bed for the war. You know what I'm saying? James Brown, incredible. But then he went to Watts when the riots was going on. Marvin Gaye was super sexy love-making man. But he had to do a record called What's Going On that Berry Gordy didn't want him to do, but he said, I got. So there was a responsibility with us to represent continuously the community that we came from. And we was taught that by the Grandmaster Flash and Furious 5, Soul Sonic Force, you know, from Message to Planet Rock to Rapper's Delight. For us, we in show business now, but we're not giving up what our culture means. We're not going to change the essence of who we are. So there was a big responsibility and that's why it works so good, because the first rappers, Flash and them, when you look at them, they look like Rick James, Parliament Funkadelic, and the Sex Pistols. Look at the early rappers. But that's because they had no show business entertainment rappers to look up to. So when we're going to look like Stevie Wonder in Parliament, when we came along, we was looking at them before they were in show business. So like I said, we went from the park to American Bandstand. We got turntable. Like, we used to show up to early shows, and the promoters, they never knew before MTV, they would book Run-D.M.C. and we would go to the venues and they wouldn't even let us in. Because they would go, where's the band? And we'd point at Jay standing at the turntables and records. It's completely hilarious. But there was, to answer your question, it was a responsibility that we had for the culture not to let it get diluted, polluted, or destroyed. Anything sacred or holy to a culture, a community, or a nation of people will get diluted, polluted, and destroyed once it's commercialized. So we said, okay, we're going to get this money, we're going to go to Hollywood, but we're not going to let them forget what this is really about.
How did you choose this, like your first single? Was there other things that were considered? Like how did that process work?
Well, in the beginning, now hip-hop right now, they say everything sounds alike. It's always like that. It was always like that till Run-D.M.C. came along. If you remember, everything in hip-hop was a message record. Message 1, Message 2, Life in the Ghetto. It was black ghetto music, and they're talking about the inner city, political, economic, social thing. Every record was that until we came along, boom, 2 years ago. What is this? I'm DMC, St. John's University. We changed that. So the process was, remember, it wasn't no albums. It was singles.
Right.
We were actually duplicating disco. All the early discos were singles. You know what I'm saying? So you had to have a message record. And we invented the freestyle, talk about whatever you want category of hip-hop. Because prior to that, it was the message, it was playing rock to the plan. We know a place where the lights are hot. It was inspiration. Everything was inspiration. And nothing, it was inspiration and desperation. But nobody was just doing, yo, let's have some fun. So Run-D.M.C. brought that curriculum to the music. But in the beginning, we did It's Like That, Circumcised, Hard Time, Share Master J. And those singles worked. And then Russell Run's brother said, you know what? We're going to make a rap album. But the world and the critics was like, look, we'll give you all those singles, but there's no way in the world anybody wants to hear a rap album.
Wow.
So the first Run-D.M.C. rap album, we did something different. I grew up as a kid loving 70s rock radio.
Yeah.
In New York City, WABC.
Mm-hmm.
Dan Ingram, Harry Harrison,
Right.
remember all of those guys? Legends, you know what I'm saying? And they would play James Brown, they would play Sly and the Family Stone, they play Stevie Wonder, Marvin Gaye, and all of that. But they also would play Harry Chapin.
Right.
They also would play Led Zeppelin. They also would play the Doobie Brothers. One of my favorite records growing up as a kid was Old Blackwater, Keep On Rolling, Mississippi Moon, Won't You Keep On. Like and I was like, this is the best thing that I ever heard. So when as we went on, we got to make albums. I was the one that suggested, everybody's using R&B, funk, jazz. Nobody's using the rock records. Let's make a rock record.
Wow.
So that was a game changer when we made Rockbox. And that helped get us on MTV. Because remember, MTV didn't want to say, we're a white station only.
Right.
We're a rock and roll station.
Mm-hmm.
They had Michael on there, but then somebody choked us, but he didn't count. Because there was no
I mean, he was his own he was his own category.
He was already
yeah.
He was Michael Jack. He's the Jackson 5.
Yeah.
There was no, you had punk rock bubbling. People forget. Blondie made one of the earliest rap songs.
Right.
She made Rapture.
Right.
But it's like, she's
like walking in the video.
She ain't no better, but she had to do it. And people say, why did she do it? If you came to New York in the early 80s and you went in Danceteria or The World, oh, shoot, there goes Blonde. Oh, shoot, there goes Lou Reed.
Yeah.
Oh, shoot, there goes... that was the Beastie
Well,
Boys.
and
that was
I mean, this is also the evolution of music, right? You have new wave that was coming in. So all this stuff started fusing.
Yes.
It was inevitable,
it was a gumbo.
that the actual music that was being
we was the first to do it on a record. Like, what is this? So the two things. Do a message record for our culture that we don't even want in the music business. Put the beat on, we're going to say some rhymes. D, get your rhyme book. That was cool. But then it became, once we got in the established music business, Run-D.M.C. approach was this. Look at what everybody's doing and just do something different. Might be a different style. Oh, everybody's using horns. We're going to use a harmonica. I tell young kids that one little thing, you don't have to sound like everybody else. You know what I'm saying? You don't have to do what Nicki Minaj is doing. I tell the girls that all the time. Find a different sound and a different subject. Make a record about hardworking nurses. Make a record about bakers. I'm telling you, it'll work, especially if you do it dope.
So one of the things, and this is this comes up in Kings from Queens, there was all of this, I mean, the number of uptight white men asking you this question was making me want to throw up in my mouth. Is this a fad? What are you going to do when this is no longer popular? And, they're in their like suits and tie. Like, God bless them. Like, that was the vibe of the time. Like, it was, and for people who are watching or listening to this, who were not aware of this sort of time frame of musical culture, that's literally the only thing people knew how to say. Like, people who didn't get the music. Like, if you didn't feel it in your soul, you didn't get it, and you were going to ask this question. How long is this going to go on, and what are you going to do after?
Where are you
and I'm
looking
at
in 3 years.
And I'm looking at the three of you sitting there, and you're like, what the, who the, why? Right. So what, I'm not going to ask you like what you would have done if it had only been a fad, but what did you, were you aware that a revolution was happening that you had started?
Okay, maybe it's going to die like disco. Okay, maybe it will die. But the funny joke is when our sons, and when there's a wedding, a baby being born, or a cookout, me running Jay is embarrassing everybody at the family gathering. Oh, here they come with that turntable. We was doing it anyway. So we didn't care if the record music, if the music business would have ended, we would have still been DJing at your cookout. When your first kid was born, you wouldn't want to invite us over. Get the turntables out, Jay. We was doing it anyway. So it wasn't about, here's what I'm saying. It was hip-hop before we got signed to record deals. We didn't need them in the first place. So if you don't want us, we don't care. But they didn't, once they saw the numbers.
Well, and that's what I wanted. And I think it was Run that said, like, would you ask Aretha Franklin what happens when singing is no longer a thing? Like, it's not. So this was my question, because for many people, the next significant moment that they know, especially if they weren't into Run-D.M.C, was the Beastie Boys.
Yep.
And what happened with the Beastie Boys was 3 Jewish kids, right?
Yep.
Came and basically
started doing rap.
And the marketability, right, of those faces was different. But there was also a really beautiful camaraderie. Like, I had forgotten all these pictures of like the 3. I'm like,
we lived together.
The 3 of you and the 3 of them. And it was like,
beautiful.
We're part of a musical revolution that is complicated and that also gives a nod to a relationship between white people and black people.
Broke it when Steven Tyler took the mic stand and knocked down the wall in Aerosmith.
Okay, well, we got to talk about that too.
Right.
We got to talk about that too.
We brought white people and black people together.
Right.
We didn't just sell records. We didn't just create a new culture. It really did something good for human beings. And
I mean, also like it's unbelievable. So can you talk a little bit about, was there ever any feeling, because I think of it in the like the mentality of today where it's like everything's a threat and a competition. When you heard about the Beastie Boys, I want to know, were you like, who are these white boys? Like, what are
they were
doing?
A punk rock group that came about. We was working in Chungking House of Metal. We were the only rap group working in a place where Slayer and Anthrax and the Beastie Boys, who was a punk group, was recording. A young man sticks his head in named Rick Rubin. Hey, guys, what's going on in here? Jay being a guy, come on in. Sit there. Rick starts talking about the group. Rick starts talking about hip-hop, this and that. So Rick brings the Beastie. Jay's like, bring him in. So now at this time, the Beasties were the crazy Beasties.
Yeah.
But Rick looks at Jay and says, yo, think these 3 white Jewish punk rock kids from Manhattan, you think they could make a hip-hop record? Jay looked at him and said, why not? Couple of months later, License to Ill was born. You know what I'm saying? But
did that feel like appropriation to you? I want to know.
No,
because in our language, it would be like, oh, is it okay? They were imitated.
No, it's only appropriation if you're doing it for financial gain or selfish reasons. Before the Beasties even wanted even to make a hip-hop record, we would sit there and talk for hours about all the Grandmaster Flash and the See, what people didn't understand about the Beasties was they knew the culture. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't like, yo, let's do that. It wasn't for, let's do that to get fame. Let's do that to cross over this and that. They knew it's like, how can I describe it? I love seeing Mick Jagger and Keith Richards get interviewed about the Stones because their interview turns into an interview about all the black blues artists that influenced them.
They might as well mention it because that's where the music came from.
Exactly. So with the Beasties, before they started making records, they knew what was going on in the Bronx, Manhattan, at the block. They knew Busy Bee Starsky. They knew the Cold Crush. They knew Kool Mo D before he went solo and battled L.
Kool Mo D!
Yeah, they knew Mo D before he battled LL in the 90s. They knew when Mo D was in a rap group called the Treacherous Three. So for them, it was more a music thing for the Beasties. And you got to understand, we opened up a lane by doing rock. Here's these black guys doing rock and roll records. Everybody from Tom Morello to Travis Barker, when they heard Rockbox, even though the critics were saying it's a fad, and so Tom Morello says in the documentary, Run-D.M.C was our rock stars.
Yeah.
We didn't need to prove of the establishment.
So I want you to talk about Walk This Way, and then I kind of want to go back and talk about your personal journey through all of this. Again, it was kind of like you kept setting up the milestones and surpassing them. It was like you were the first, you were the most, you were the dopest. And then it was like, oh, here's something we didn't even know we could conquer, right? You conquered fashion, like
with Adidas.
And people have to keep in mind, you didn't have a deal with Adidas. And it's like Adidas, there's no amount of, it's not even about money. There's no amount of information they can put out to communicate what you did simply by wearing the shoes that you were wearing.
And making a song about the sneaker we
unbelievable.
loved. About their product.
Right, okay.
That's why we call it, that's not their Adidas. That superstar is my Adidas. Look, that's facts.
So then we get to something like Walk This Way. I mean, it's a game changer. like that image is seared into my mind also because as a kid, I was like, everything's coming together. We're breaking down walls. Like it was so, okay. So talk about how Walk This Way came about.
We originally was going to sample it. Because if you understand hip hop, you make the beat, we taking your beat and we're going to rhyme over it.
Yeah.
So originally we was going to sample it. It was Rick Rubin who suggested it's never been done before. Instead of sampling somebody's record, you know, it could have been make Stevie Wonder's record completely over. Don't just make James Brown's, record, say it loud. Well, don't just sample and put your lyrics. So we was going to do that. They met resistance from me and Run. Because I got rhymes. I got a book of rhymes. And here's what's really funny. We had never heard the singing parts of the record.
Oh, my gosh.
Because the DJs would only play the opening beat part. But the brilliance of that, the game changer was, now, if we would have did Walk This Way over and just did our rhymes on it, it would have been, remember Run-D.M.C sampled Aerosmith in 86? If we would have did the record over, just me and Run, remember in 86, Run-D.M.C remade the Walk This Way? The brilliant thing is, when Rick was telling us, learn it, do the record over, he went to Boston to get Aerosmith. The brilliance was we did it with them.
Oh, it was,
So it brought the two, when people saw, they heard it, but then they saw us together. That did something to people. But we had no idea what it was going to do. Because on every Run-D.M.C record, there was already we had Rock Box. We had 84, we had Rock Box. Run-D.M.C rapping over rock. 85, we had the King of Rock self-titled album with the King of Rock single. And even on the Raising Hell album, on that album is a rock song called Raising Hell. But doing Walk This Way over with them.
This is a funny question. Were there other songs you considered?
What do you mean?
Like, were there other songs where you were like, oh, wouldn't it be cool to sample this? We should sample this. Or was it like, this was the song that you knew you had to do?
It wasn't that thing. It was like, that was one of the last records that we did on the album.
Wow.
And Rick knew we needed something else to do. Jay had suggested, we didn't know it was Walk This Way.
Got it.
Jay suggested, because it was all album crates of records.
Right.
Jay suggested, get the album with the toys on it and let's sample number 4. We called it number 4 because the DJs would scratch off the labels so the rival DJs wouldn't see what beat you had. You know what I'm saying? So if you was a DJ, I would come over to your turntables if you played a beat out in there.
Oh my God.
And I'm trying to spy so I could start playing it. So it was, get number 4, sample it, we're going to rhyme over it. Rick says, no, it's not number 4. The name of the song is Walk This Way. The name of the band is Aerosmith. Blasey blah this, boom, man. They were once great, but they're over. Boom, boom, boom. I think it'll be a good idea to do the record over exactly the way that they did it. You never know what's going to happen. Then while we was doing that, he calls them up. He calls Boston. Hello, my name is Rick Rubin. You know who Run-D.M.C is. We're doing your record over. Do you want to do it with us?
Unbelievable.
And there was hold on, what? We heard of Run-D.M.C. Who? This is Rick Rubin. You know I'm producing Run-D.M.C. And Steve and Joe were humble enough to go, you know what? Those Run-D.M.C guys are kind of cool. What do we got to lose? And they admit it brought them back. They could have spent a $3 million promotional campaign. Now, at the time, they had that album with Dude Looks Like a Lady, My Angel. They had, all those records were good, but nobody cared. To sum it up, they could have made a record with God, Jesus, and Moses, and nobody would have cared. The only thing, imagine, they got God, I'm telling you, God, Jesus, and nope, it would have never. But doing it with Run-D.M.C was the thing that changed the game.
I mean, hearing how he guided that collaboration is really amazing.
Yep.
Was he as spiritual minded? Was he the Rick Rubin we see now back then?
Yes, he was, but he wasn't describing what he can look back now and describe what he was doing. Rick basically was the guy like, don't care about what people think. No, there was rhymes and stuff that we would have that we would change to fit on a record. He would do stuff like this to me. D, I don't want this this new version. I want the version of the rap that you were singing in the shower last night. I heard you singing. Don't come in here and I want that emotion. You know what I'm saying? So Rick is such a great producer because he's a fan of music. He's not a genius. He's something greater than a genius. He's a fan of Metallica. So you can hire a producer to produce Metallica or Run-D.M.C. or the Beasties or Johnny Cash, and every record will flop. Rick's job is, what do you think about the thing that you're creating? Why do you have those thoughts? Remove. He's like Gandalf. That's who Rick is. You know what I'm saying? And it was just brilliant because he didn't want us to conform. He wanted us to create art. And he always talks about the importance of art. He wanted us to create art.
I want to go back because, this is sort of the part of the journey that people saw, right?
Yes.
We saw what it looked like, what it sounded like the barriers that it broke down, like it transformed music. It opened the door for so many artists, and in the Peacock docuseries, I mean, you see LL Cool J, like it's unbelievable. Eminem literally says, "I wouldn't have even been born if this wasn't like programmed in the universe that you guys would exist first." I mean, it's really the impact is so profound. But I want to talk a little bit about your personal journey because you wrote this memoir in 2017, right?
Mm-hmm.
And there's so many incredible things that you choose to reveal and that you choose to talk about. And, I'm always curious, and I think about this, I started acting on TV when I was like, in junior high. And, I think about like, I'll never know what my life would have been like if I hadn't had that experience, right? We'll never know what Darryl would have been like if that hadn't happened, or if at any of those points it was just something you do at parties, right?
Right.
But what ended up happening?
Yes, I wouldn't be here.
Now. But it's the question that I have is, you ended up doing the things that a lot of us do when we're hurting. You looked for an emotional crutch. You looked for a chemical crutch.
Yeah.
You
look for something outside of you to make you feel stronger, confident, to reassure you that you're perfect. Not knowing you're perfect already, but it happened to me. And it wasn't because of me. It was because I had a fear of not living up to everybody else's expectations. I can't let run down. I can't. It was like this. We was getting hit records. We was getting hit videos, tour, everything that, like you said, I think of it, it happened.
Had fame, right.
People who was around me who were participating in that started saying, you need fame. You need to hit record. You need the money. You need to be on the radio. And everybody's saying this around. I never thought like that. I just put the beat on. Let me do whatever happened. But then caring about them so much, you forget about yourself. So my thing was, what if I can't get the radio? What if I can't? And it's not for me. I didn't care about that. I was like, if I can't get the radio, then running J, like I start worrying about that. So I'm like, oh shoot, I need some confidence. There's this thing
Liquid
called
courage.
There's this thing called Old English 800. And they don't just make quarts anymore. They make 40 ounces of it. It used to be 32 ounces, but 40. I need all that I can. So I started, instead of using my imagination and my instead of using my imagination to accomplish instead of pretending, I started indulging in it was the alcohol. And alcohol would just make those thoughts go away, but only when I was drunk. Because then when the high wear off, the thoughts would come right back. So now I gotta, I went from drinking 3 40 ounces to a case a day.
Okay, 3 is already, that's a lot for some people.
It's the craziest thing ever.
Is that, I'm gonna ask a dumb question. Did it feel like basically constantly drinking?
No, because
like
healthy,
what's the amount of time we're consuming a case in?
From 11 in the morning to about, I would say, till about 6:30, 7:30. But then you go out to the world into danceteria, and now it's Bacardi and Coke and Hennessy and Champ. So I was drinking 24 hours a day. But the reason why, now it should have 12. Look, 3 is crazy.
Yeah. I didn't say that's your word,
No,
not mine.
no, but what I mean by it's crazy now when I
Yeah.
look back at it, but the reason why is harmful, unhealthy behaviors is celebrated in our community. You know, the person that takes 20 shots, nobody stops them at number 7 and say, yo, what's wrong? You know, the person is fighting. Who's beating him? Is his father beating him? Is it something body on his block? The person's sleeping with everybody. The girl's sleeping. Whoa, what are you? But in my community, look, there was Garfield who drunk 5 40s. Ray! There was Smith who drunk 3. Ray! Richard drank 6. But D's the champion. Matter of fact, he drunk 12. Give him another case. And I would do it. Because there was something I was trying to, there was a void in me, and there was also things I was trying to suppress.
You also talk about that you saw yourself and, you know, you were relatively functional, meaning you didn't look like what a lot of people think alcoholics
I showed
look
up
like.
on time and all of that. I was drinking from 5 in the morning. I was drinking cases 5 in the morning to about 7:30 at night. Then from 7:30 to 2, 3 in the morning is alcohol. So I would go to sleep, and you know, when I finally went to rehab,
it's a miracle you're alive. I mean, it's a miracle your body.
The doctor said.
Yeah.
The doctor said when I got acute pancreatitis in 1990. I had acute pancreatitis, and I remember going to the emergency room, and the doctor sent me and asked me, "Do you drink?" And I'm like, "Yes." How many cans of beer? I don't drink cans of beer. I drink 40 ounces. How many? 1, 2, or 3? And I was like, "No, I drink a case."
Wow.
What? Admit him. Excuse me. So they admitted me. I was in a hospital for a month and a half. I couldn't take nothing orally, everything intravenously. Fortunately, they was like, "This is a miracle. Your liver's intact and your pancreas is not bruised."
Your liver is the superhero of this story.
Yes, it is. It must have knew what I was supposed to do. But when I got discharged, the doctor goes, "Darryl, you have 2 choices in life. You can drink and die or not drink and live." So it was going good from 90 till about 96 when or from 90 to 96 now that I'm sober, because I have to be sober, all of the thoughts is just daily on me.
Yeah, I was going to say the alcohol and, you know, really any drug, right, that's the solution for the problems. But when you take away the solution, all you're left with
so
is
it wears
problems.
off. You got to keep it going. So I was keeping it going real good. Keeping it going so much that I got acute pancreatitis. Now I have to make a decision. I can't drink. So now all the thoughts that I was suppressing are exploding in me. And in addition to that, the thoughts that come with those thoughts. So I was a alcoholic, suicidal, metaphysical, spiritual wreck that didn't want to live anymore. And it got to the point where one day I was sitting there, and there was an empty void in me too.
It's the God-shaped hole.
Which made me say, okay, something's missing from this picture. Son of Byford, brother of Al, Banner's my mother, runs my pal. It's McDaniels, not McDonald's. These rhymes are Darryl's, those burgers are Ronald's. I ran down my family tree. My mother, my father, my brother, and me. Okay, so it's me, Run, Alfred. Hip-hop comes over the bridge. And I summed up my life. First to go gold, first to go platinum. Something's missing. And then it got to the point where, what's this void? I got all these thoughts. I can't drink, this and that. And I just said, man, if I die tomorrow, people know what I did with Run-D.M.C. As Run-D.M.C. But they don't know the little boy. So I was thinking, if I commit suicide, I want people to remember Darryl, not the DMC King of Rock guy. So I called my mother up. I said, I'm gonna write a book, because there's videos, there's music, but I want to leave Darryl, and I want to say, hey, world, I'm Darryl McDaniels from the groundbreaking rap group Run-D.M.C. You know me, first to go gold, first to go platinum, all that stuff. But I'm really just Darryl McDaniels from Hollis, Queens, New York. No different from anybody on the face of the earth. I was born May 31st, 1964. And I just realized, I know my birthday, but I don't know no details about it. So just to make it more interesting for the reader, I called my mother up. Now, what I should have did looking back, Mom, I'm suffering, I'm depressed, but I didn't want to bother her. I didn't want to put nothing on her. And then I really didn't want nobody to know. I didn't want to talk about whatever. I thought I could handle it myself, but I couldn't, because I really would rather drink to not deal with it all. But I called my mom's up, and I'm like, hey, Mom, I'm writing a book, and just to make it more interesting for the reader, I want to know 3 things. How much did I weigh? What time I was born? What hospital? She tells me.
Simple questions.
Yep. Hangs up the phone. Hour later, she calls back with my father. Hey, son, Hey, Dad, what's going on? We have something else to tell you. Now, I thought they was going to go, when you was born, there was a power outage in the hospital, and we gave birth to you by candle, like something like that. Or there was an earthquake and you made it through. They hit me with this. We have something else to tell you what. Now, I'm an alcoholic, suicidal, metaphysical, depressed wreck. You was a month old when we brought you home and you're adopted, but we love you. Bye. Click.
And you're 35 years old at this time.
35 years old.
You had no idea you were adopted.
None at all. I'm all my records, the Byford and Banner. And
it's in the song.
It's in the songs. And the reason why that it didn't, now my brother was dark skinned than me, different build and stuff like that. But the reason why that was never thought, my mother's two brothers, Uncle Ronnie and Uncle Griffin. Uncle Ronnie had fraternal twins, Derek and Samantha. Derek was dark like my brother. Samantha was my complexion.
Okay. So that makes it's all working out.
And Uncle Griffin, Donnie, who me and my brother and Donnie, we all grew up together. Donnie looked like me, but his sister Robin looked more like his dark-skinned father. So for me, I didn't see that I wasn't a McDaniels. But imagine how I felt when I found out.
Tell us.
I'm not a
What did it feel like?
It destroyed me. It destroyed the void in me. The void in me was filled. That was the missing piece of the puzzle. You're adopted. But that means I'm not a McDaniels. Like I started all these other more negative thoughts. No, my mother and father, that's my mother and father. But then it was like the whys. Why did they keep me? Why did my birth mother give me up? I probably got a father, this and that. So you can imagine it was, so I didn't know what to do. Let me go back to the thing that I know. How am I going to? Started drinking again. Even more now.
Wow.
And my wife's crying. My wife's Zuri. We've been married 30 years. My wife, and she wasn't there for the whole rise of the Run-D.M.C. We met when the kingdom was falling apart. And she didn't leave me, so I love her so much. But she looked at me, and I'm making excuses now. She's like, motherfucker, excuse my language, you're not supposed to be drinking because you had acute pancreatitis, whatever. My excuse was, I'm just drinking because I found a missing part of my identity. My wife, she went right to the truth. She said, motherfucker, you're drinking because you can't emotionally handle the fact that you just found out you adopted.
That's a mic drop.
So, yeah, imagine me standing there with you. You can't beat that. So from 96, 97, when I found out that I was adopted, I'm starting to drink again. All the way to 94, because I didn't know what to do. And I was fortunate that I met another adopted person named Sheila Jaffe. She's actually from out here in LA. She's a casting director. She cast Sopranos and Entourage and a bunch of movies like that. So I had met my manager, Eric, who you just met, him and Tracy Miller, my publicist that was here, when I was going through all of this, you know, they really don't know what to do. Keep them working. So they was trying to keep me working. So long story short, I came here to audition for a part in a movie because they just try to whatever. So when the agent spoke to me, he goes, Darryl, I see Run and I see Russell and Kimura and Diggy there. I never see what's going on with you. And I remember sitting in that meeting out here in Hollywood, and someone said, let this motherfucker know. Well, I just found out that I was adopted at age 35 and this and that, and mother and they kept the secret. I just hit him with it. And the beautiful thing he did, it was the first time I saw somebody have compassion for me. Even not knowing what to do. I can't possibly understand how you feel. Wow, thank you for that. But I think there's somebody you should meet. Sheila was in his office, depressed and down, because she knew she was adopted since she was 14, but she was doing searches for biological parents that kept hitting dead ends. So he just figured, you just found out maybe y'all can meet and something good will come out of it. So when I met Sheila, the one thing that it did for me was let me know I'm not alone. I'm looking at Sheila like this, a real live adoptive person like me. And then we went on to form the Felix organization that gives opportunities to kids in foster care. But the saving thing is this. After me and Sheila meet, Sheila goes, oh, by the way, Mark Wahlberg, one of my clients, gives us his office in Santa Monica once a month, and we go in there, we have Adoption Anonymous meetings.
Oh.
And I go, what's that about? All adoptees, there's no agenda. You just go in there and talk about how you feel.
Wow.
You could be mad, you could be angry, you could cry. So I started going in that. And then about the 7th one, they asked the big question. Don't you want to know who your birth parents are? Nope. Don't take me down that road. You heard the record, Son of Christmas Time in Hollis, Queens, DMC. That's it. And they was like, that's cool. You know, they instigate, that's cool. But that's not the beginning of your story. And they convinced me, D. Oh, the reason why I did the search for my birth mom is because of this. A famous adoptee lady, not celebrity famous, she's famous to us because she said this. She said, the reason why an adopted person should, you don't have to. It's your story, you handle it. But she hit me with this. The reason why you should search for your adopted parents, besides medical. Because imagine me growing up. My father had diabetes. No. I wrote out them. No. My real father, my biological father, I got to find that so I could know my son's history. But she said, the reason why you should search is because of this. I was like, what, Sheila? Why? What's the big reason? She said, you never start a book from chapter 2. And then I realized I was living my life. Hollis is part of my story, but there's a whole chapter I don't know about. So in order for me to go down that road, I knew I had to be of sound mind and body. So it forced me to go to rehab. So when I went to rehab, I found the most powerful thing that you can do. It's not weakness. It's the most powerful thing that you can do. Admit you're scared, admit you're afraid, admit you're vulnerable, admit you're confused. I found this thing called therapy. And I said, I can cry right now. Yes. You can be angry right now. Yeah, it's just your situation doesn't define you. You do. And my therapist said, you've been doing it all your life. You've been using the 2 great words in the midst of everything that's involved with you, those secrets you know. You would get in front of the world and say, I'm the king of rock. I'm the devastator mic controller. I'm the son of Byford. So your situation didn't define you. So when I found therapy, I found a way to deal with my emotions without having to pick up a 40-ounce, which was a beautiful saving grace. I went to therapy. I was diagnosed with suppressed emotions and OCD. That's why I'm so neat.
Oh. That's why they said your dressing room was always so neat.
Oh, Martha Stewart, yeah.
Do you remember as a kid, like being that? Crazy
neat. Now that comes from, prior to me going into rehab, we met this adoptive lady that worked with foster kids and stuff. No matter of fact, before I had my own therapist, I was using a therapist at the New York Foundling. She's a therapist that deals with the foster kids. She told me about this book called The Primal Wound. And it was written by a lady who talks about when I was giving up for birth, we conscious of what's going on, but we kids, we little baby. What are you doing? I was with my mother. What are you doing? Who's this lady? Something traumatic happened to me, which created these attitudes. My brother's side of the room, if he would have came into our house when he was in 6th grade and I was in 3rd, his side of the room is socks. My side of the room is neat, prepared to be moved again. And when I remember when my mother and father told me I was adopted, I got off the phone, all of a sudden, your mind starts remembering stuff. When my mother and father told me that and went back to they didn't adopt me till I was 5 years old. They had me as a foster kid from 1 month to 5 years old. All the foster kids that they had, their parents came back to get them. So when nobody came back to get me, my mother said to my father one day, Byford, honey, what are we going to do with this one? And then
so my father goes, they had fostered other kids.
I remember cousins that I never saw again.
I thought
they moved, this and that outfit. My brother said, no, Oscar's mother came back to get him. Teresa's mother came back. I thought they were cousins.
Your parents were essentially, they were angels. I mean,
they were fostering
kids
who were able to go back to those parents. So my mother asked my father, Byford, what are we going to do with this one? And I'm in there playing with my Godzillas and stuff. My father goes, and this is going to be I'm preparing to do a series about my life, but not the DMC. The DMC part's going to be in it, but it's about the little kid, purpose and destiny. My father goes, you know what? I think we'll adopt this one because maybe he'll do something to change the world.
Stop it.
Look at me.
Look at you.
How crazy is that?
So I want to talk a little bit. This is something Jonathan and I are very interested in. We've spoken to a couple other people on the podcast about this.
Mhm.
You know, we want to believe kids are resilient, right? And that's what we're told. And I have a 15 and 18-year-old. Jonathan has a 15-year-old. You have to believe kids are resilient for all the stuff you put them through and all the horrible things that I say when I'm mad. So you want to believe the kids are resilient. But what we know is that also, even before we're verbal, we have an awareness of where we are in space.
Mm-hmm.
We have an awareness of when the person who carried us and birthed us is not around, right? And like they call that like an abandonment wound or all these things. So I have to ask,
suffer it.
Did you continue to pursue finding your birth mother?
I found my birth mother in Staten Island.
Staten Island?
Yep. And I found 2 brothers and a sister I didn't know I had. I pursued it. I found them. And it's crazy. When I walked in my birth mother's house, it was the first time I saw somebody that said they were related to me that looked exact. My wife to this day said, "You are your mother. You act like her. Now I know all of this stuff that you do to drive. I do everything my birth mother do." And when I walked in the house, she had some of the same books I was reading.
No! It's too
and she had the same Buddha statue that I had. And this right here is my wife's name, Zuri. It means beautiful in Swahili. On my birth mother's arm is the Peruvian symbol for beautiful.
Wow.
I found I found 2 brothers and a sister I didn't know I had. Now, this is going to be crazy. My brother,
older,
Mark,
younger?
No, yeah. My brother Mark's 3 years older than me. We got different fathers, though. But his whole life, to this day, see, I look a little different now. I lost weight. His whole life, Mark, and he's like me, in the comic books, and he could draw. That was my whole life growing up. Hold up. But his whole life, from the day I got on MTV, 84, to Down with the King, 93. Mark, come here. That guy DMC, you look like he could be your brother.
Stop it.
That's 84, 85. Mark, come here. By 88, I know DMC could be my brother. Come to find out, DMC is really his brother. Now, my brother Damon, 3 years young, Mark's 3 years older than me, got all my artistic, my look and everything. My brother Damon right now, my new vice, since I can't drink, is going to the gym and working out. My brother Damon is bald like me right now, doesn't wear glasses, has a goatee, and he got muscles.
Wow.
My sister, this is going to blow your mind. My sister met me.
No.
I could have been dating my sister now. Hold up. This is going to really blow your mind.
When did she meet you?
She met me with Jam Master Jay. She has a picture in Jay's house. Her friend was dating Jason's brother.
No.
She came to Hollis, went in Jay's house, took a picture, and came to a video shoot with me.
Stop it.
I met her high and by.
And so your birth mother, did your birth mother know where you...
Not till I called her.
Stop.
She didn't know. She did not know.
She didn't know she gave birth to DMC.
No, she did not know. All she knew was I was going to find her one day.
Oh.
Because what had happened, this is funny too. So that same sister hold up. When I got clean and sober and said, I'm going to go find my birth mother, the same year, 2 things happened to my birth mother. Because when I got to meet her, we started talking. The first thing that happened was she told her best friend about me. I have this kid, and all her best friends said, don't worry, he's coming to get you. Then she was sitting there watching something on the Life channel with my sister. And my sister jokingly turns to my mother and says, you ain't got nothing like out there. And my birth mother thought it was the time to come clean. Yes, I do. So my sister did a double take. I had this kid, this and that. I gave him up for adoption. Yeah. But I met my sister. She saw, I know Jason, I know Garfield. We was at the video shoot for
wow. Small world. I mean, New York is a small world.
Yeah.
I want to ask a question about, I want to give some time to losing Jam Master Jay.
Yep.
This friendship, this partnership that you had.
This friendship.
Yeah.
That just happened to be in front of everybody. But we all grew up together. We lived 6 blocks from each other. So we just played. It was us playing basketball and going to other. People ask me, D, how do you deal with all of this? I look at my life. I live in one big neighborhood.
Mm.
You know what I'm saying? Don't matter if I'm in Japan and this and that. It's just one big neighborhood. Me running Jay, we just went. We expanded. We lived in we live in a hood called the world, but we accomplished a lot together. So when Jam Master Jay got murdered, that was like the end of Run-D.M.C. Not the end of Reverend Run and King DMC. There's no Run-D.M.C. because Run-D.M.C., even though his name wasn't in the group, it's Run-D.M.C. and Jam Master Jay, or Jam Master Jay, Run-D.M.C. And people go, yeah, that's right. And, so we can't record or tour, but you can. People go, but you can. You and Run, you can go get Flash, and then you can Jazzy Jeff could DJ for you. DJ Scratch could be for you. That's different. And my joke is this, and everybody said, okay, we understand. I say this, okay, y'all want Run-D.M.C. Run-D.M.C. will get back together when the Beatles get back together.
Right.
Could that happen? No. Then they say, oh, I could see it. Now, if me and Run was to record, we would have to create a new entity, sort of like David Grohl did with Nirvana. He's not keeping Nirvana. Right. He went to Foo Fighters to do something new. When you look at what Tom Morello did, when Zach and Rage Against the Machine, Chris Cornell, they went Audio Slave, then they went Soundgarden, this and that. But Run-D.M.C. as the entity, that we still exist. We own the records and the videos. But when Jay got taken away, you took away the soul of Run-D.M.C. It's like taking the heartbeat. Now me and Run are just Frankenstein walking around without the beating heart. So it was a shock. But for me, it was much deeper. I'm an alcoholic, suicidal, metaphysical, spiritual wreck who just found out he was adopted. That wasn't the only thing. Jam Master Jay got murdered. Then my father died. Byford died about 8 months after Jay died. And I remember my father going, who would want to kill Jay? Jay, he wasn't horrible, wasn't he? So I was dealing with all that trauma. So that saved me by going to therapy. Not only was I dealing with why I was drinking and, were you mad at your mother and father for not telling you? Hell yeah. But I understood why they did it. He's doing so good. Let's not ruin this and that, But then Jay got taken from me. So for me, it was one boom, 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 boom after another.
What was also, I'm curious what it felt like also to have to deal with that kind of thing in public.
Now I'm realizing this is how it felt when Kurt died. This is how it felt when Jim Morrison. And I'm a huge rock fan. All that people look at my pictures and see what shirt he's wearing today. I'm the Doors and I'm, what I'm saying, this and that. I'm such a fan of the rock stars that I heard. Oh, shoot. They sound up. This is crazy for me now. They say Chuck D says Run-D.M.C. and journalists and critics and stuff, writers say Run-D.M.C. is the Beatles of hip-hop. We had a Beatles moment. John Lennon got shot. I couldn't believe you were duplicating everything from Janis Joplin. We have that rock and roll death, murder, overdose. I'm just fortunate I didn't overdose or die. Or you know what I'm saying? I didn't die like Jim Morrison. So that's why I'm so vocal about it. I got a new rapper say, I'm sick and tired of the pain and the hurt. I do this for Chester, Chris, and Kurt. Death is appealing, so with death I flirt. I tell the world how I feel and they think I'm a jerk. I'm not bugging, I'm struggling. All this guzzling is puzzling. So you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to stop hanging with Jack and Jim, Jack Daniels and Jim Beams, because they're not my friend. So I can fight this battle, not just for me, to show you can win. It doesn't have to happen. Now, when it came to Jay, when it first happened, I think it was on MySpace, where I had said, just before MySpace died, I posted, and I don't really post a lot. I posted, and I should have never did this. This is funny. I posted, I'm not mad at the guy that shot Jay. Should have never did that. Motherfucker, I got my feed went crew because I said, let me explain myself. My problem isn't with the person that shot Jay. That's not my fight. My fight is the mindset of the person that would cause him to do that. So that's why I'm still here to fight against that. Because look, Jay died, Biggie died, Pac died, KRS One guys died. So everybody, Extension died. All these people getting shot. But what about the Jays and the Pacs and Biggies dying every day that nobody cares? They only care about us, like you said, because I'm in the limelight. But I understand. I never thought I could relate to a John Lennon or the first singer of AC/DC dying. The sex, drugs, and rock and roll. There's sex, drugs, and rock and roll elements that they're not supposed to get that, but it came to me. So it makes me think about my responsibilities even more different. So it's a tragic loss in the likes of all these rock and roll icons, but it's even more tragic loss to life in general, to the doctor that commits suicide, to the little kid that commits suicide, to the kids that get murdered and stuff like that. It's crazy that I have to deal with that too.
So besides therapy, I'm curious what else you do for your mental health. You like to work out.
Yeah.
Are you a person that meditates? Do you have a God in your life? What are the other things that keep you going?
My meditation is creating now. I talk about this in my book. I found the thing that drove me to the 40s. I forgot about my comic books. I forgot about just writing a rhyme just because I want and have the thought. I'm not writing a rhyme to sell it. I'm not writing a rhyme to be on the radio. I'm not writing. I was doing it anyway. When I started doing my art for a purpose, that's when it all went wrong. See, Run-D.M.C was the yin and yang. Run, you could get Bentleys and stuff like that. He knew there was a music business. But then he recruited me because our yin and yang will accomplish that with everything going perfectly. That's why I say in the documentary, when Run was being Run, D was being D, and J was being J, we was unstoppable. When we making a record to sound like the people in the 80s, when we do it, that's when everything went wrong. So my meditation, somebody once told me, 2 instances in my life, prior to me drinking before I got adopted, I would go on Barnes and Nobles. I was buying all these metaphysical books because I wanted to fill this void. So it was Asian, it was Jewish, it was all of these, the books about it. But then one of the books has said, prayer isn't the act of saying the recited prayer in a certain position. This one person said, prayer is how you live every day. Every minute of our existence is the prayer to God. So when I was sober, okay, I remember that one. And then somebody else had said, meditation doesn't necessarily have to be, and this and that. Meditation is a state of mind that now I achieved that through my creativity. I'm writing so much right now. And here's the beautiful thing about it. Now that I'm not writing so that I could be on MTV and I'm writing these songs, this is exactly how me and Run came along. I had the rhymes already anyway. I was just prepared. I tell kids, finger paint, tap it, just do it to do it so that when that moment comes, I'm so good at what I do because I had 1 billion hours of rehearsal in my basement. You know what I'm saying? So in April, I got a song with Travis Barker on drums, Mick Mars from Motley Crue on guitar, Duff McKagan from Guns N' Roses on bass, and me and Sebastian Bach on vocals.
What?
And that just came about because I got this idea to do Ram Jam's Black Betty over. And I sampled it, but then I said I made this record sample. Then I said the producer, my man Sonic, said you need real musicians. I go out and I run into Travis Barker. And he says, D, I love you. Rock Box changed my life. If you ever need anybody, by the way, send it to me. He's drums. Run into Sebastian Bach. D, I love you. This and that. If you ever, everything, now that I'm sober, everything that I was doing with a lot of effort is bringing the things that came to me effortlessly.
Wow.
So that's my meditation is a state of mind. Waking up and going, okay, what am I going to do today? I feel like I'm 12 years old again and going outside to play. You never knew what the day was going to bring you, but you were so excited about the day.
I just love the meditation as a state of mind. It just sounds like that's the ultimate flow state, to be creating not towards some end, but just so that it is an expression of who you are.
Right. Yep. Because it's no destination. And that was one of the things that was fortunate about. We had no destination. Let's make a song about our sneakers. I tell kids, I play no basketball. I can't even play basketball. And I got to sneak a deal like Jordan. It came from that state of mind.
It's true. I hadn't
know what I'm
thought of
saying?
that.
Think about it. It's crazy.
Can you talk a little bit about sort of your family life? You've been married a long time.
Yes, my son is here with me.
Yeah. Tell us a little bit about what it's like being a dad with everything that you are kind of still, like, when you have these kinds of things, they don't leave you. It's just you have a different way to deal with them. What's it been like for you?
I honestly got to say, I drive my wife and son crazy. They look at me, they know who I am, but they would just tell you, you have no idea we hate this motherfucker. I said, no, I met my wife in 1993 when we put out Down with the King. I met my wife we was working on a Down with the King album. Run was late for the studio. So Jay says, yo, let's walk to the grocery store. We walk into the grocery store. Jay sees this R&B girl group that he was working with his friend Stanley Brown and one of the lead singers. We stop and we talk, and I look over at my wife, and something in my head says, D, that's your wife.
What?
Yes, like that. So I start trying to get the number. I was 27, she was 17.
No!
So I couldn't even start messing with her until she turned 18. But here's the cute part about it. When I approached her, she wasn't into Run-D.M.C. because she's 10 years younger than me. She's in a New Edition. She's into Stacey Lattisaw. So she heard of Run-D.M.C. She thought Run-D.M.C. was a white rock group. So I meet my wife. She goes home and calls her older sisters who are from my era. I met this guy, DMC, this and that. Girl, you better answer that phone when you talk back. So it took a whole year before I could even start dating. I had to go to Connecticut to meet her father. So the beauty about my wife is she wasn't here for the rise of the kingdom. She started slowly learning stuff as we went on. And when my shit went crazy, she stayed there with me. Raising my son. I mean, when I was in my alcoholic, suicidal, metaphysical stage, I probably spent $250,000 on alcohol. And I'm out, never home.
It's like your mistress. I mean,
yeah. And then she raised that kid by herself. So my life with them is this. This is, well, you know what I'm saying? I'm not trying to be humble. My wife and kid is this. Dad, you don't know who you are. Because everywhere they go, people let them know who I am. But my wife never uses that as she'll go work, she'll go to events, and people will find out years later, why you didn't tell me you did? Because, they don't see it as a big thing. But the beauty of them is they know the DMC that's normal.
Who are you listening to these days?
I was just going to ask that, Jonathan. Jonathan wanted to know, who are you listening to? And I wanted to know also what you think of sort of hip-hop today and what you think of rap today.
Yeah, right now, my playlist is everything rock and folk rock from the 60s. My cutoff point is probably grunge, but I'm into the Black Crows and stuff like that. There's a serious cutoff point. When it comes to hip hop, I got on CD.
But hold on one second. What do you like from the 60s and 70s? Like do you like Jackson Brown? Do you like Beatles?
Beatles, Joni Mitchell, Neil Young.
Do you like Dylan? Are you a Bob Dylan fan?
Dylan, Neil Young, stuff like that. Procol Harum.
Yes.
All of that stuff.
Yeah, Whiter Shade of Pale. Yeah. That's right.
So that's my vibe. So 60 and the folk rock, Jim Croce.
I was listening to Jim Croce last night.
Really, yeah, amazing.
I mean, I was raised on Peter, Paul, and Mary, and all those duets of Joan Baez and
Yep, Joan Baez.
Okay,
so I'm the classic rock guy up to grunge. But classic doesn't mean old. I check people. Classic means better than everything that comes after it for eternity.
Do you like 50s music? Do you like
certain songs?
Do you like Motown?
Certain songs. No, I don't. I never liked Motown. Is my mother and father's music.
Right. And
That's
mine.
why
Thank
I discovered folk
Me
and
and
all
your
of that
folks.
stuff. Yeah, yeah. That's my mother and
That's
father's
my, if I were on a
music.
desert island and I had to pick one genre, it would be Motown. I'm a huge Motown person. But like 50s, like were you into sort of like early Little Richard? Was that like kind of foundations of
I only
rock?
learned about that because of Happy Days.
Right.
And TV, TV shows and stuff like that.
Okay, so you're like a pure like 60s
King
and on.
of rock, yeah.
What, do you like hip hop? Like, do you like rap? Is that something you enjoy listening to, or does it feel so different from your musical taste?
Yeah, it's no, it's not that it doesn't connect with me. I can never critique another person's creativity. It is what it is. The whole mumble rap stuff like that. It doesn't grab me. A lot of the classic rock that I listen to, it's not just, I'm discovering old music, but it's new to me because I never heard it again. You know what I'm saying? Now here's the thing with hip hop. And I can say this because I'm DMC of Run-D.M.C.
You can say whatever you want.
Right. So what has happened over the last couple of years, the mumble rap thing and stuff like that. Like hip hop came from disco, but hip hop isn't disco. We our own thing, and we never they threw disco away. They called it garbage. Disco sucks. We said, no, it don't, and we embraced it, and we used it and stuff like that. The hip hop, the mumble rap, and Eric Sermon of EPMD was saying this first, which gave me confidence. I always thought like that. The new hip hop stuff that they call isn't hip hop. Came from hip hop. But what has happened is deeper than me addressing genres, saying what it is. Anything that is sacred and holy to people, nation, culture will get diluted, polluted, and destroyed once it's commercialized for financial gain. They don't care about the audience. They don't care about the history, nothing like that. So what has happened now, and we need to start checking the music business on this. They have taken ignorance, profanity, disrespect, homicide, and genocide, and they have promoted it as acceptable to the masses by labeling it hip-hop. Just label it hip-hop. They're using what hip-hop is, not just Run-D.M.C. Like we said in the documentary, Ice-T, Chuck D, there's a rule to this. There's a sacred rule to this. But they have taken ignorance, stupidity, violence, and stuff like that and mass market it, and they just label it hip-hop because if you call it hip-hop, people are going to accept it. And what we're saying is you can rhyme about the gun. This is hip-hop. Make a record about the gun being used, but your very next single that is playing on the radio every 20 minutes better be the song about not using it. They don't do that no more. You can rhyme about the strip club. People go to strip clubs, but everybody don't go to the strip clubs. So where's the records about the fully clothed women that don't shake their butts and call themselves bitches and hoes themselves? Where's the women now being put big budgets behind them to promote and sell and market, calling themselves queen like Latifah? Where are the MC Light rappers? Where are the
You and I are going to make that album. We're going to make that album.
We got to make that album.
We got to make that album.
So to answer your question, there's a lot of good hip-hop out there. I'm talking about authentic DJ, MC. What has happened with our hip-hop culture, they totally threw responsibility in the garbage. And just because it's making a few bucks, everybody's saying it's good and it's great and it's false and it's a lie. They're using negativity as a false sense of power. So, that being said, I was speaking at a high school in the Bronx. I go to high schools now. I go to middle schools now, and I go to elementary schools because of my kids' book. And I speak to kids. But at this one high school, the high school guy asked me, Mr. DMC, what do you think about mumble rap? Now, he wants me to be 59 years old and hate it. Oh, I hate it. You young whipper, this and that. I hit him with this. I go, yo, I could relate to it. And it caught him off guard. He looked at me like, what do you mean? He's supposed to hate it. I said, no, I can't hate it. I said, the only difference between my generation and your generation is you're not being truthful. You're not owning up to your responsibility. And you got to understand, they said the same thing they say about mumble rap. It's nonsense and they ain't saying nothing. They said it about us. Hip, hop, the hibbit. But the difference is when we got criticized, we stopped mumbling and hipping and hopping and we wrote it like that. We wrote The Message. We wrote Hard Times. We wrote Planet Rock. I said Tupac is not worshiped because he had Thug Life tattooed on his chest and he went to jail and he got shot. He's worshiped for 2 reasons. I'm telling these kids that. What's that, Mr. DMC? Dear Mama and Brenda had a baby. And you should have heard the kid, yo, that Dear Mama record sounds ill. Pac didn't have somebody in his ear saying, Pac, write this for, financial gain. He took it upon his young self to say, I'm going to write about teenage pregnancy because I'm in a position to address the things that's affecting my community. Listen to how beautiful Dear Mama is. The music, it's very emotional. So now, and it's nothing wrong. They didn't call punk rock folk rock. They didn't call punk rock and folk rock class, but they all coexist.
Mm-hmm.
They have taken my hip-hop culture from me, labeled ignorance and stupid. I ain't gonna say it's not good. It's what they do. But like Eric Sherman said, they should have called it something else because it's not hip-hop. It came from hip-hop. They putting beats on and they talking over the music, but it's not. I'm saying this, and the God is saying this. It's not hip-hop, but it came from hip-hop.
Mm-hmm.
So I can't listen to it. And the reason why I can't listen to it, it doesn't do to me what Neil Young does to me.
Mm.
Neil Young, Chuck D, Ice Cube,
Right.
De La Soul does this thing to me.
I know that like you and I are very different people, but it's really healing to hear that because there is a certain level of music that my kids will listen to that especially the way that we talk about having sex with women in particular on these songs.
Right.
It's like you can only hear so much of it. And then it's like, okay, I get it. And it's funny because, my assumption is,
That
I'm
you're
a
not cool.
fuddy-duddy.
No.
I don't get it. I'm a prude. I'm a this. But it's kind of like, there's a certain
You
level
had that
I
in
can't.
there when you were younger. See, I hate
It's because
when my
I'm real
older
hip-hop.
friend-
That's what I
Right.
need to tell them.
My
Your mom's
friends-
real hip-hop.
Yeah, yes. No, 100%. Here's what it is. We were very mature. We wanted quality. I hate when my friends say, I must be getting old because I don't. No. When we were younger, I blow kids' mind. The typical rapper was 12 to 25 years old growing up.
Right.
And we knew we had to be creative. We had to but we knew there was a responsibility. I wasn't just rhyming to impress my 18-year-old friends.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted the educators and the leaders and I wanted Bon Jovi to do what he did when we played the first MTV Music Awards.
Mm.
We the guys that's not going to be here in 2 years. But Bon Jovi and Cher, those icons, those gods, yo, we love what you guys are doing, man. Oh, I love your song. Keep it up. We wasn't just hip hop to hip it. We was making songs, you know what I'm saying? When Cher heard I'm DMC in the place to be, I go to St. John. Sure, honey, listen. Like, you know what I'm saying? We wanted to impress the Dylans. We wanted to impress the James Browns and stuff like that. So it's nothing wrong with what they're doing. I'm like Eric Sherman. I'm pissed off that these labels have taken my culture and labeled violence, genocide, homicide, ignorance, disrespect of women just to sell it. It's not hip-hop. Call it something else. But here's the problem. If they would have labeled it something else, people would see the truth in it and it wouldn't be selling. Yeah, I said it. That's true. If they would have called it something else, it would have did what they were saying Run-D.M.C was going to do in a minute. It would have came out. Bitch, ho, shoot. And here's what's crazy, like you just said. It's okay, but why is everybody saying the same thing and it all sounds alike?
I said,
How
I get
does that
it.
work?
I get it. He had sex with her and
Yes.
used that term and called her body that. I get it. Anyway, you have so many amazing things you do. Before we let you go, I just want to give extra fantastic shout outs. You do a lot of things.
To make people smile in a good way.
cookies.
Darryl makes cookies. And that came up from a joke.
Darryl makes cookies.
I met a baker and I said, I'm going to make some cookies. DMC is going to stand for Darryl Makes Cookies.
Oh my gosh.
And they are.
I
That's
can't.
crazy.
Darryl makes cookies. Darryl makes comics.
I started my comic book company 7 years ago. I go to all the Comic Cons. You might see me at the LA Comic Con.
That's unbelievable.
You might see me I'm back where I started.
I mean, it's like you don't have to make believe. That's I mean, And also this
Kids book.
delightful, really, really adorable kids book. It's called Darryl's Dream.
It's me in the 3rd grade. All I want to do is say my poem.
It's so sweet with the glasses and his little microphone. And he's wearing Adidas. The Felix organization you mentioned is a beautiful nonprofit that services kids in the foster system.
We have a West Coast Felix organization too.
Oh, awesome. Yeah. Awesome. Your memoir is 10 Ways Not to Commit Suicide.
You don't have to do it.
And Peacock's, the docuseries Kings from Queens, the Run-D.M.C story is out. It is absolutely phenomenal. It's such a pleasure to get to talk to you. One thing before we let you go, it's such a strange crossover that Jonathan and I need to ask about. Mm-hmm. There's a connection with the Sarah McLachlan story.
Yeah.
Can you please share us that connection? I mean, everybody's got a story about that song, but I think yours might top them all.
You know what? Here's better than this. Yes, I'm gonna just leave it at this. There's a site called The Morph.
Mm-hmm.
TheMorph.org.
Yeah, I think so.
Everybody listening, go listen to The Morph. Punch in DMC's Angel story. Go listen to The Morph story. And all I want to say is Sarah McLachlan's song literally saved my life. Mm. So go to themorph.org, punch in Darryl McDaniels' DMC Angel story, and watch what happens.
I just pulled it up.
Check it out.
That is so awesome. Thank you so much for being here. It's an honor to get to meet you. I mean, it's like something I never imagined that I would ever get to cross paths with you.
Well, me too. I'm like, wow.
Oh, jeez.
It's like you was part of my life.
Oh, my God.
No, for real. You're like a rock star. You're part, you know what I'm saying?
That's really weird.
And like you said you're real hip-hop. I always tell kids, hip-hop didn't just create rappers.
Right.
It created you. It created doctors and lawyers and educators. It created designers. It created bakers and chefs. It created soundmen and lightmen. It created, you know what I'm saying? It didn't just create rappers.
I was just a little Jewish girl with New Yorker parents who let me listen to your music.
Right. But you are hip-hop because you artistically, creatively, compassionately, emotionally, and humanly say, this is who I am.
Thank you.
It's
really such a blessing to talk to you. This is a shout out to Josh Netburn and Aaron Matz, who wrote this we were on a synagogue retreat, and you had to, I don't remember what the assignment was, but I think that we were you know what I do remember? I just remembered. We were divided up into groups, and everyone was given one portion of like the prayer service, and they had to do some creative representation of the prayer that they were given. So for anybody who's ever been to synagogue, there's, there's like a dozen prayers, let's say, that you could break up, or moments in the service, and we were broken up into all these groups. So I was in this group with Josh Netburn and Aaron Matz, who were obsessed with Run-D.M.C and Beastie Boys and all sorts of things at that time. And the prayer that we were given was called the Baruch. And I believe that there might have been breakdancing on my part that was done while this was wrapped. It started my Adidas. I walk through temple floors and roam all over. Sorry, I can't. Sorry. I'll try it again. My Adidas. I walk through temple doors and roam all over synagogue floors. I step on the bima from Paris to Lima and say the Baruch all the way through.
It's fantastic. We got to get a beat underneath it.
Anyway, it was powerful. And it was my Adidas was brought to that. That was a fantastic bit of music history. I could talk to him about any of those things for an entire hour. I kind of lost track of time, but just an amazing story, an amazing tribute to the power of creativity. And, Jonathan, I wasn't kidding. You send me all these Rick Rubin things. Like, this is what he talks about.
The power of just creating for the sake of creating and honing that internal instinct of, is it good to you? And I love the way Darryl described Rick Rubin. Well, is it good to you? And why do you want to create that? And how does it feel to you? And I was like, oh, he's the psychologist of creativity.
I was also really taken with, I think that's what true humility looks like, meaning he really sees himself exactly as he is in music history, but he also is so aware and really acknowledges the whole system that existed to create this phenomenon, that they were. He had the support of so many people, the encouragement of so many people, and it took so many people coming together to believe this could be. And he was literally the guy with the rhymes, like in his little journal, in his diary, and he didn't even want to share them. It was so cute.
Seeing your face when he said that his father turned to his mom and said, I think we'll adopt him. He may do something to change the world.
I can't.
There's a level of divine intervention in his life at so many points that seem otherworldly.
And the notion that he said he felt like part of him always knew it was waiting for someone to pick him up, like someone's going to take him. I mean, that's so powerful. And also, like, he had such a deep, his body and his experience had such a deep understanding of something that he didn't even name until he was a grown man.
He had such an awareness of it. He didn't say this in the interview, but we've read elsewhere. He had said all his cousins knew, all his teachers knew, all the doctors knew, all the nuns knew that he was adopted. You can feel that. You can feel that something is off. You can't name it, but there's no way that you can go through your life with everyone else knowing around you and you not having a sense that something is off.
I want to finish here with a beautiful quote of his. Hip-hop is about keeping it real, telling the truth. Once I started telling my story, I realized I was doing a lot of interviews for the Black community because a lot of Black men in general, fight the stigma that admitting you have a problem is a sign of weakness. A lot of men, they're fronting. They're hiding the truth. They lie. They take substances. They act tough. They're violent. They talk a lot to hide the fact that they're going through something. Admitting that you have a mental health issue is not being soft. It's the hardest, most powerful thing you can do for yourself. And I would venture to say that's not just true for men, it's true for everyone. And I love that he's using his platform to be such an advocate for something that he pushed away for so long. And there's such a repair that he's doing, not just for himself, but for all of the people he touches, all the kids he talks to, and all of the things that he brings with the numerous things that he puts his time and energy into. Absolutely check out Kings from Queens. It's such a fascinating portrait of a time in history that we will never witness again. Yeah. From our breakdown to the one we hope you never have, keep it real.
It's Mayim Bialik's breakdown. She's gonna break it down for you. She's got a neuroscience PhD or two. One fiction, one and now she's gonna break down. It's a breakdown. She's gonna break it down.